difference between profitable meme coin traders and those losing money isn't just picking the right coins, it's using the right settings. Today, I'm sharing my exact BullX setup strategy that's generating me 500 plus daily, plus real trade breakdowns from the night before on what I did wrong and what I did right. Let's get started. So unfortunately, a lot of people, when they are first starting out, besides choosing the wrong coins and trying to snipe and beat all these other guys who are pretty much in the game 24/7 for the last year, they choose the wrong buy priority fees, sell priority fees, slippage settings, etc. And that's how they lose a lot of money as well. Little do a lot of people know when they're first beginning is each transaction, when it fails to go through, you're still paying that gas fee. So I wanted to show you guys my actual slippage settings depending on volume and what I'm trading and how to set it up for yourself as well. And this coin is actually what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. It's one of my trades from last night. But anyways, we'll get started here. So if you go here, a lot of people ask me, do you pay attention to these top settings up at the top here, right? So I'll just zoom in here. You can see all these. And the answer is no. Just because I've been in this game long enough and I know these aren't necessarily accurate and sometimes they're even trying to take more money from you. So I have my own settings set up, but I just wanted to show you guys how you can set it up from the very start here. So you can choose like a preset name. So what I actually have for mine, I have like regular as the first one. I have sniping. I have high volume, and then I have low volume for my trades I'm taking. So the buy priority fee, you guys can think of this as you're paying for takeout, right? And you're paying the delivery driver and you're paying them a tip. So the people that pay higher get their food quicker. The people that pay lower get their food later. So it's a priority fee where you are in line. My priority fees, I normally have them set anywhere between 0.0015 and 0.01. Once again, this highly depends on volume and how many transactions are actually going through. So you do want to take a look at that. And this is something you're going to have to get used to. And when you're looking at the chart, you're going to notice if it's a high volume or low volume. You can also look up here and see where we're at with the number of transactions, where the volume's at right now. But if we go back here and we're setting this up, you can go ahead and put in your priority fee. Like I said, if it's lower volume, 0.015, I've even went as a 0.001 if there's like absolutely no volume on a coin. If it's a super later coin that I think it's going to go up, maybe it's a week or two old, then you can set a lower priority fee there. All right, so next is your slippage limit here. And with this, you want to think of this is if the price goes up, you're going to pay more than, let's say you're like, oh, I want to buy at 30 million here. And the price shoots up to 31 million. Then you will be paying that 10% slippage there for when your transaction goes through. Let's say the price goes up 40%, your transaction will actually fail and not go through, and you will still be paying a gas fee. So beware of that. If you're dealing with a small amount of SOL to start out with, you will always be paying a gas fee, even if your transaction failed to go through. This was something I did not realize in the beginning, and I shot through right about 1 SOL pretty easily. So be aware of that when you're first getting used to these settings. As for MEP protection here, I would recommend in the beginning always keeping this on. These are basically a bunch of bots out there trying to sandwich you in a transaction. So what they will do is they will actually put in a higher price. It will shoot all the way up and you will have had a price, let's say around here, and they will sandwich you and then sell right away and take whatever fees they can out of that. So MEP protection, like I said, in the beginning, if you're just getting used to trading, especially with meme coins, I would have this enabled. However, if you're used to it and you're a sniper out there, you want this to be disabled for faster transactions. So when you have this disabled, it will allow you to have really fast transactions to go through. As opposed to enabled is a little bit slower. It's actually called Jito on the Nova bot, I believe. And then they also have like Ultra in another setting, which is for faster transactions. The bribe fee, if you do have MEP protection disabled, you pay 0 bribe fee here, always. This applies for sell settings as well, and I'll get into that next. But if you ever had MEP protection disabled, like I said, in sniping situations, your buy bribe will be 0. If it is enabled, I usually have this set to around 0.01 or something of that nature. Once again, this depends on volume as well. They do give recommended bribe fees too, so depends what they say there. Usually I don't pay attention to it, but usually I'm using like a 0.01 or 0.005, something around there. Depends on volume, depends on number of transactions going through. So let's go ahead and move to sell setting. So sell settings, you always want your sales to go through quicker. Because these are meme coins, you do not know where or how fast it's going to tank, right? Very few coins are going to pump up consistently. This isn't regular like altcoins like Sol or Dodge or something like that. They move quickly, they dump quickly. So sell settings, you want these to be usually higher than your buy settings. Depending on volume again, I usually have 0.015 to 0.005. If it's super high volume and there's a lot of transactions coming through, I'll even go up to 0.01 or something like that. As for the sell slippage, usually I'm around the 25 to 30% range. Once again, if volume is extremely high and there's a lot of transactions coming through and I have to get out of a trade, I'll even go 30 to 35 on that. As for MEV protection for sell settings, you can just leave this off. I have personally never heard of anyone getting MEV'd on a sell transaction, so it's a waste of money there. So you can just put 0 and your transaction will go through quicker. So that's why we leave that off. Now, as for my settings for each play, I would say, so we have regular is what I call kind of normal volume, something like that. I have high volume, I have low volume, and I have sniping. So those are 4 settings I usually have up here, and I just wanted to show you guys quickly and just on a kind of new account how you can set those up in case you haven't done it before. So regular, I have 0.01. The slippage limit, I have 15, and you would consider this just regular volume. When you start looking at the charts, you'll be able to recognize what that is. And the same settings apply to the buy side. So 0.01, we have a slippage limit of 15. We have this enabled, and we have the bribe fee at 0.05. So we will go ahead, set that as regular, do it on this one, set this as regular, and that's about it. If you wanted to reset that preset, you can go there. Let's move to the next one. So let's say we want to name this one. We're going to go sniping. For my sniping settings, I actually have the priority fee set as 0.1 because we want to move extremely quickly on these. So your fees are going to be higher. And then we're going to have a slippage limit of 30%. MEV, we are going to leave off. So that means no bribe fee. Disable that. I'm not sure why this is not sticking, but there is that setting. And the same applies to the sell priority fee. So we want to get out of those trades pretty quickly. This sometimes I'll even set to 35%, but I'll just leave that for now. Disabled here, 0 here. So P3, or we could do, this will be my high volume. So I just put HV for this one. And this one I set this to 0.1 as well. Actually prefer around like 0.05 or 0.75, just depends. So you'll see these numbers are moving, and that's because we're currently on a chart. So it'll tell you where to set it. So you don't necessarily need to worry about it if you're trying to get in a transaction quick, but that's just whatever you want to do there. So for buy slippage for high volume, I do 5%. And for the buy bribe, I do 0.01. And we also leave this enabled here. So you can go ahead and save that. And the same applies to sell settings for this one. As for low volume, we're going to go extremely low. Let's say this was my low volume one. We're going to go 0.01. If this would quit moving, 0.001. And then we will have the slippage to 5% and the buy bribe to 0.001 as well. If there's absolutely no volume on a coin, maybe I think it's a coin that's going to pump later, maybe it's like a week or a few days old coin, then these are the settings you would use. And the same applies to the sell settings there. And if you guys also wanted to see the actual bribe updates here, you can go down to the right corner and it will actually tell you what's going on in the market right now and where you can place your fees at. Do I use this? Usually I just have my presets already set and I play with those. All right, now that we're done with the nitty gritty, let's get into the fun stuff. As you can see here, these were a couple of trades I was looking at the night before. How I found these meme coins first. I'm tracking a bunch of different wallets. How I found the wallets, I went to the top performing coins. We have Swarms, we have Peanut, things like that. Think of the top trending or trading meme coins, the ones that really pumped. And I found the people who bought and sold good in those coins. So if they bought early, if they sold that towards the top level of when you want to get out, I tracked their wallet. I also looked at their P&L, their win rate, and how many trades they are taking per month, per week, if that's the trading level I'm looking to do as well. First, that is how I found these meme coins. Second, a couple of notes from actually what happened, and I was on the 5 seconds, but we'll drop this. Let's go to the minute actually. And this was called test. The problem with this one and why I didn't actually enter, when you are looking at these coins, you have to think about your risk to reward ratio, okay? You got to think at the time, is the percentage I could get out of this coin worth it? Let me get off this ruler here. For instance, I just drug my FID top to bottom here. This must have just appeared. Let me get these guys off. If we drag it from here, we can see it hit the 0.17 perfectly. I'm playing with the 0.17, 0.236 range of getting in for a possible entry, and you guys can actually set limit orders for this over here. So if we would have got in here, and the reason I didn't was not because of volume, but because the RSI at the time, it was below 50 and it just wasn't breaking above it. You can see resistance. I could have got in and made, I think it was like 60% or something. I was also 80, whatever. So I was also looking at this resistance line here. So you have this candle and these wicks, right? So is it going to come above this? That's the big question. And I didn't think it had the momentum and price action to do that. Something else I'm going to be teaching you guys about later on. But you can see this resistance line here and these wicks perfectly line up and it would not go past that. So I did not enter this trade based on the MACD, the RSI staying below this, and the MACD was bearish. You'll notice up here, it's bullish, right? It's above the top. So this is something I always look at. Are we bullish on the MACD before entry? And when I was looking, it was bearish. And like I said, this meme coin popped up for me under alerts here. It was just a tracked wallet, and that's why I was taking a look at it. So that is one thing to be aware of. The other reason I didn't enter it is because my risk to reward ratio just wasn't great enough. I didn't think it could break this resistance area. Like I said, if I got in here and got out here, it's only a 60% profit. And with fees and everything else, it's just not worth the risk. So that is something you guys need to be thinking about. Now, we can go ahead and look at Dark Fart, apparently here. What a great coin name. But we can go ahead and take a look at this same coin. And this one, I actually had a good feeling about, right? If we take a look at their Twitter, take a look at their Nansen, take a look at everything else like that, you're not going to be able to tell a lot of data at first. But what I first looked at was the RSI. So here you can see, compared to test, the RSI was very below when I was looking at entry, and it was not breaking that 50 line mark. As opposed to Dark Fart here, we're already above, and we can pull up the MACD. And when I was looking to enter, the MACD lines were bullish as well. We weren't below like Test was. Here, where they're below the MACDs. So that is a good indication of some entry points and what coins to enter and what not. I like to be bullish above the MACD. I like to be, and this is on the 1 minute time frame, so you can zoom out or you can move to 30 seconds when you're new in the trade. I just had to zoom out to the 1 minute. But look at the RSI. Is it above or is it below? Do we want to enter that? Also, I believe they had good on trench.bot as well. So if you're looking at bundles, this is very important as well. We always want their bundles to be below 21. Was it test? I think it was test. Dark Fart here had 17 bundles here as opposed to let's pull in test here. And they actually had 24 bundles. So we want this bundle to be usually below 21. I've seen more success with that for some reason. I have a whole kind of sheet keeping track of this stuff, but that is something to pay attention to as well. I believe I did take a look at their Twitter. Oh, this one went away. Interesting. But I remember I did take a look at their Twitter profiles using Money. So let's check it out here. And they were both good at the time. Yeah, so we can't pull it up now. They must have got banned from X or something like that. Usually that happens. But they did have a steady upward graph. You'll notice with this coin here, this was another one I was looking at. I wonder how this one's doing today. But I noticed there's plus signs on Dark Fart compared to Test. Test, I believe it was more steadied out. So we can pull it up here and see. So yeah, it was somewhere around here, I want to say last night. I believe it had one or two, which was fine. And once again, it's hard to tell with these, but you'll see it kind of studied out after this. So if we pull up another coin here, Hollow Zone, I think it is, I saw a bunch of smart traders on this one on Moni. So we go here, go ahead, check. And yeah, you'll see just that complete taking off. And they have a 577 Moni score there compared to what we saw with Test, where it just leveled out. Some other stuff to pay attention to. You're not going to see a whole lot in the beginning, especially if it's a newer coin. But if you see a general incline upward, that's probably a good sign. And if their Moni score is higher than the other coin you're looking at, probably a good sign to get in. So those were my kind of results from last night. I think win rate was like 50%. But if you're putting in like 0.1 SOL, let's say, and this one actually skyrocketed, went all the way up here, this would have been like, I think it was a 10x or like 5x. But that went up, all the way from down here to up here, and you put in 0.1, that's an easy, probably 0.6 or 0.5 SOL that you would have made compared to the 0.1 you would have lost, on this other trade. So overall, you would have been in profit, for the night or day. So those are just some things to think about when you're trading meme coins. If you guys have questions or want to learn more, specifically what would you like to learn, just let me know and I will put a video out about it. Thanks.